Welcome to Alibaba Cloud Academy for the Clouder Certification course. In this session, we will introduce the ApsaraDB for ClickHouse about Alibaba Cloud developed enhancement and features based on ClickHouse community version. ApsaraDB for ClickHouse is a cloud-hosted service for ClickHouse that allows you to purchase cloud resources, create and manage ClickHouse cluster with ease. We're going to briefly overview the product, and I will explain each part in detail for next slides. The four key enhancements is our security feature, such as user management and whitelist. The graphical operation and maintenance like one-click scaling, resource monitor, and task orchestration. Also, the elastic scaling capability for both horizontally and vertically, which is scale up and down, in and out. It means that for scenarios which requires high availability, the double replica solutions is available to use. And scale up is also very convenient. Besides, as the structure shows, it supports various data pipeline and data channel, like OSS, Kafka, Max Compute, RDS, and of course the Flink. And other like hot code storage tiering strategy also helps in cost reduction. Let's move to the deep dive part about those features. First thing first, to compare with open source ClickHouse, ApsaraDB for ClickHouse is more stable, secure, and maintainable. The architecture of ApsaraDB for ClickHouse is similar to that of open source ClickHouse. The overall structure is as follows. All ApsaraDB for ClickHouse nodes have equal status with each other. Each node can compute and manage data, and process query and write requests. Each ApsaraDB for ClickHouse cluster contains one or more shards. Each shard contains one or more replicas. All ApsaraDB for ClickHouse nodes are deployed on Alibaba Cloud Elastic Compute Service (ECS) instances. At the underlying layer, ApsaraDB for ClickHouse node use highly reliable cloud disks as permanent storage. And as the structure shows, it's a very typical usage of the ClickHouse-Data links and pipelines. So the general data, like the metadata, always comes from like MySQL, Kafka, SLS, log services, or Max Compute. And then comes to like doing the DTS, the real-time sync, or use Flink to do the data cleansing, or Logfees or Spark, and also data work by doing the batch sync into the ApsaraDB for ClickHouse. So as we mentioned before that it could do the table aggregation before data comes into the ClickHouse, and then form a white table. Then people can use the ClickHouse to do the like data visualization by using Metabase, Redash, or QuickBI, which is developed by Alibaba Cloud as well, and also Tabula or Apache Superset. And let's take a look into the data storage part. So tiered storage of hot and cold data provided by ApsaraDB for ClickHouse offers a more cost-effective method for single clusters to store hot data and cold data. This method also allows you to migrate data between different storage media. So hot data is frequently accessed and stored in enhanced SSDs, so which is called eSSD or Ultra disks. And cold data would be stored in OSS. By default, the ApsaraDB for ClickHouse stores newly written data as hot data to enable efficient queries. When the amount of stored hot data reaches the storage threshold, earlier written data is automatically stored as cold data to free up storage space for newly written hot data. Tiering hot-cold data follows the pay-as-you-go billing method. It could effectively reduce storage cost to about 90%. And ApsaraDB for ClickHouse provide a professional platforms for easy operation and maintenance. It contains 8 listed key applications to protect your data security, manage and monitor your resources, recover backup, and balance scale seamlessly. Let's get through it one by one. The auto-scaling is also a very important feature in ApsaraDB for ClickHouse. So scale in or scale out means increase or decrease the number of nodes in a cluster to horizontally scale the computing power of the cluster. In ApsaraDB for ClickHouse, it offers two options for doing the expansion. So one is simple expansion, which only increases the number of original cluster nodes for usage, just like the open source ClickHouse can do. Besides, another option is the migration expansion. So if you select migration expansion, a new cluster is created and new nodes are added to the cluster. Data of the original cluster is replicated to the new cluster, and the data is written to the shards of the new cluster based on the sharding key and the sharding method used by the original cluster. This ensures that loads are balanced among the shards after the cluster scale out. Comparing with open source ClickHouse, it doesn't support data shards rebalance while doing the migration expansion like ApsaraDB for ClickHouse does. Multi-user resource isolation queue is our featured functions that provided in ApsaraDB for ClickHouse in kernel version 20.3. It provides a complete user-level memory isolation mechanism to ensure the stability of core access requests. It is usually applied in large systems. The enterprise customer has the strong demands to distribute the memory resources in a reasonable way to ensure some important query or users always have the priority of access. And considering the high availability of service, ApsaraDB for ClickHouse provides multi-replica to ensure data security and allows concurrent query and insert. The replica supports read request, can take over the service while primary node shut down. And once the replica take over the service, the read and write can be synchronized as well. The operation systems provide multiple approaches to protect your data security. For example, the IP address-based whitelist can control risks from access resources. The IP address-based whitelist can control risks from access sources. The user administration systems allows to assign different data access privilege to user group. Besides, ApsaraDB for ClickHouse clusters are deployed in VPCs. So VPCs are created on physical networks by using overlay technology. And VPCs are isolated from each other at the TCP layer for security. And turning to the monitoring and alerting part. So ApsaraDB for ClickHouse provides a real-time monitoring and alerting for performance metrics, such as CPU utilization, input and output operations per second, number of connections, and disk usage. This allows you to monitor the status of your clusters anytime and anywhere. And also ApsaraDB for ClickHouse monitors inbound traffic in real time. After DDoS attacks are detected, ApsaraDB for ClickHouse scrapes traffic from the source IP address. If the traffic scrapping is not effective, ApsaraDB for ClickHouse triggers black hole filtering. And turning to our graphical console part, so you can manage your cluster with ease in the ApsaraDB for ClickHouse console. And also the ApsaraDB for ClickHouse integrates with DMS, which is our data management systems. You can manage and query the data of your clusters in the DMS console. The backup and restoration feature of ApsaraDB for ClickHouse allows you to backup or restore data at any time. You can back up all databases, tables, views, and data, dictionaries, and metadata structures of the current clusters. So generally, the dump file backup will be stored in OSS, and the snapshot backup or like the table backup will be stored in the ClickHouse. And then the partition backup is usually using the replicated merge tree and stored in OSS as well. You can restore backup data to a cluster instead of to a database or a table. Only full restoration is supported. And after a backup task is executed, a backup set is generated. When cluster data is lost, you can use the backup set to restore data. And to restore data, you must first create another cluster that restores the backup data to the new cluster. You can choose to retain or delete the original cluster. And the last thing is to migrate data from like on-prem or a cloud self-built ClickHouse to ApsaraDB for ClickHouse. There are two options are available for you. So option 1 is to use the remote function to migrate data. There is a built-in tool called ClickHouse Copier could help. And the option 2 is that you can export a file from the source ClickHouse cluster and import the file to the destination ApsaraDB ClickHouse cluster.